Welcome to Private Club Radio, the industry's first and only program dedicated to education, news, events, trends and announcements. Broadcasting from Tampa, Florida, ladies and gentlemen, here is your host, Gabriel Aloisi.
Welcome to another edition of Private Club Radio. We're talking with Henry Wallmeyer today. He's our featured guest. Henry is the president and CEO of the National Club Association. During my discussion with Henry, we take a look at the lobbying efforts that the National Club Association is conducting on behalf of this industry in Washington, D.C. You're going to find out what the top legislative and legal issues affecting this industry are and how the National Club Association is working on them for the over 600 clubs that they represent. Henry outlines his goals for the association and the organization's plans to become a real voice for the private club industry. I think you're going to really enjoy this talk. Now, before we get into Henry's interview, a few things. First, from the Association of Club Catering Professionals. Registration is open for the 2016 ACCP National Conference. The conference this year is being held in Nashville, Tennessee, August 28th to the 30th, and is truly a spectacular experience for the catering professionals and club managers in the private club industry. Information and registration is on the ACCP website at www.theaccp.com. Check it out. Now, I just got back from the CMAA World Conference and Expo in San Diego. It was an incredible event that the Club Managers Association of America put on. Hope you were there too. If you're a regular listener of this show, you know that I was conducting some live interviews right from the expo floor at my booth. And so here's one with Hannah Eanes that I want to play for you. I'm here live at the CMAA Expo in San Diego with Hannah Eanes from the Professional Club Marketing Association. Hannah, how are you enjoying the show?
It's been fantastic. It's great to see a full expo, and a lot of PCMA member clubs have come and to say hi at the booth, and we've also met a lot of new private clubs that are interested in getting involved in advancing their membership and marketing, and so it's been exciting. It's been a great couple of days.
There's been a lot of great buzz in the Expo Center here in San Diego.
There has. There's really great energy. I think the sunshine here in California has a lot to do with that. But yeah, the energy's been awesome here at the CMAA conference.
Now, you guys just announced your own conference coming up at the end of the year. Tell us about it.
Absolutely. We have an annual conference. This is our 21st annual conference. We're experiencing a new city this year. We've never been to Kansas City. It will be in September the 19th and 20th. It's a great 2-day event, just a way to get some quick education. It's on a Monday and Tuesday, and I think that's what makes our conference kind of unique. You don't have to spend quite as much time away from your club, and our specific focus is private club membership and marketing. And so kind of the goals of our conference and the primary takeaways of our conference are really ways to impact membership growth, membership usage, membership retention, and satisfaction. So
yeah, tell us a little about the education tracks you're featuring this year.
Sure. We're focusing a lot on club service culture. As it pertains to our conference education, we really focus on kind of the foundation. Sales and marketing and recruitment are always kind of some sensitive subjects as it pertains to private clubs and boards, and those conversations are kind of difficult to have. And so our approach usually on the first day is to really focus on the components that make private clubs successful. And at the end of the day, that isn't always their traditional sales and marketing campaigns and things like that. It's their service culture, it's their staff culture, it's things like team engagement and the things that really make private clubs special and unique, and kind of the intangibles that they really need to have in place to connect with their members. And so that's what we'll be focusing on the first day. The second day, we'll have some breakout sessions that really then hone in on technical skills like online communications, branding, marketing to millennials, and some of those hot subjects, so that people can kind of pick and choose what's relevant to their day-to-day and attend some really great sessions to hopefully make a positive impact.
I'm all about the millennials marketing. That's great.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to attending a panel here later today on millennials. So it's a hot subject.
It is. People get a little bit scared about it, but I think it's going to be a good thing in the end.
Yeah.
You just have to learn new ways to communicate, new ways to do things. I think it's an opportunity for evolution.
And stay ahead of the curve, we need to learn about our millennials now so that we can get some foundations and some best practices in place in order to be prepared for them when they're ready to become members at our private clubs. So,
all right, I want to see if you're ready to make a live exclusive announcement on Private Club Radio. I'd really like to break this news. I know you're 27 weeks pregnant.
Oh my goodness.
Do you have a name for your child?
We do not. It's a tough decision.
We wanted that exclusive.
I would love to give it to you, but I don't think the grandparents would be very excited about that.
Is it a boy or a girl?
We're having a little girl.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for joining me today.
It's been my pleasure.
Hannah's awesome, and really the whole PCMA crew is a pleasure to be around. If you're a membership professional, definitely check out their national conference this year in Kansas City. All right, without further ado, it's time to bring on our featured guest, Henry Wallmeyer. Henry is the president and CEO of the National Club Association. The NCA is a Washington, D.C. based trade association serving the private club industry. Wallmeyer joins the NCA from the National Association of Manufacturers, where he was vice president of membership. Prior to that, Wallmeyer was deputy director at the International Parking Institute and served in leadership positions with other associations, including the American Academy of Otolaryngology, the National Lumber and Building Material Dealers Association, and the Club Managers Association of America. Henry, I know I probably messed that one up, but welcome to Private Club Radio.
Well, thank you, Gabe. I do appreciate it. And no, everything was great on that. No mistakes at all.
All right, perfect. Well, Henry, can you start off and tell listeners a little bit about your background?
Sure, absolutely. I am an association executive, as we like to say. That's been my career since graduating Villanova University in 1994, and I'm very proud to say that this week Villanova is ranked number one in basketball in both polls.
Congratulations!
First time ever for us. Thank you very much. That's good. A lot of people thought I was insufferable before that. Now that we're number one, I'm sure they will have to put up with me at all. But yeah, so soon after graduating Villanova, I moved to Washington, D.C., and started working on the Hill for the National Republican Congressional Committee, which was a great learning experience. I would recommend it to anybody coming out of school who has any interest in Washington, D.C., or politics or legislative regulatory body, or just how the country works. It was a lot of fun. I got to meet a lot of other young kids, all with these ideals of what we can do to try to make this a better country. And from there, I moved on to the Club Managers Association of America, and I started working in their as their Premier Club Services director, and also overseeing their legislative activities. And so that's really where I started and fell in love with associations. I didn't know anything about them when I was at school. There was no association major, and I wish there was. But starting at Club Managers really got me into seeing how an entity like an association can truly help an entire industry. But then not only that, it gives you the opportunity to really build relationships with the members, people that you're going to be working with year in and year out. And that's where I just said, yes, this is what I want to do. And so from there, I worked at other associations, as you had mentioned, and progressed my career. But then when the opportunity came to work back here at the National Club Association as their president and CEO, I absolutely jumped on it, because it gave me the opportunity to come back to an industry, the private club industry, where I started, where I met a lot of good people, where I still have good friends. But I know exactly the issues that they're dealing with, that they're fighting on, and what we can do to try to make it better for private clubs. So it was a very circuitous route for me to be able to come back to the National Club Association after starting my very first association job at CMAA. But I'm thankful for how it all happened. I'm a firm believer in things do happen for a reason, and the opportunity to be here and working again with a lot of club managers and clubs that I'd worked with in the past is one that was just too amazing for me to pass up. And I'm very thankful that I do have this opportunity, and I just look forward to doing a lot of great things with it.
Perfect. So you guys are hard at work in Washington, D.C. What's the association and what's their mission?
It's a great question. I get that. I get that a lot when I'm out and meeting people or at parties and just telling them what I do. They say, "Well, what is the National Club Association?" And so I'm happy to tell them and happy to tell you that what we do, we represent private clubs. We lobby for private clubs and protect their interests here in Washington, D.C. on a federal level. We try to make sure that the environment that these clubs are operating in is the most positive environment that they can. We try to make sure that the rules and regulations and laws, aren't adversely affecting private clubs and how they operate. They aren't erroneous, but it just enables these private clubs, which are basically small businesses, to operate in the best manner possible so that they can continue to grow and to succeed. We also provide club governance operational information, for private clubs as they're working with the boards of directors who are, managing and overseeing the clubs. So we put together information so that the general manager can work with the board and be more successful and continue to have the club grow and do the different things that are necessary. And we also do a lot of information on trends. Provide what are going to be the next things that private clubs need to do to make sure that they are successful and they are changing with the times in terms of what their members are looking for and how to go after members and what types of services and things to provide at clubs. So in a nutshell, we do the lobbying, provide legislative regulatory support for clubs, provide governance information as well as trend information.
A lot of people hear the word lobbying and it's a dirty word to them, right? So tell people how what you're doing is furthering the industry, if you can, Henry.
Absolutely, and you're so right. A lot of people outside of the Beltway, they hear lobbying and they think it's a dirty word. And it's funny, Brad Steele, who is our Vice President of Government Relations on our staff, who is our lobbyist, he's also a lawyer. And so I always kid him. I don't know what's worth for him to say he's a lawyer or for him to say he's a lobbyist, because nobody likes either one of those.
Double-edged sword, yeah.
Exactly. But it's one of those things. It's that necessary evil that you have to have here in D.C. And lobbying can be a dirty word, but it's something that needs to be done because, we need to be at the table. We need to be up on Capitol Hill. We need to be, talking to the congressmen and the senators and saying, hey, this is what these rules or regulations or laws that are in place, how they're affecting clubs, or these proposed rules, how they would be affecting clubs. And for the most part, it would be, in a negative way. And so we are the voice. We're the people who are out there supporting private clubs. We can't it would be very difficult for all the individual private clubs to try to, come to Washington, D.C. or try to, contact and have an effective voice, for their issues. And so we are doing that collectively as an industry, saying, we're representing 600 private clubs throughout the country, many of them in your district or in your state. And this is what could be happening if this, legislation passes, or this is what is happening because this has passed and how it's, hurt the economy or hurt the employees or whatever the situation might be. But, we look at it as lobbying as a very positive thing. That's something that needs to be done, to share our story of what we're doing as an industry, the benefit that comes from our industry, the number of jobs that are created, the number of money raised by charities through clubs, the number of taxes that clubs pay in their local area. These are all very positive things, and so we need to tell that side of the story as well as, hey, what you're doing, could potentially be harmful, if not looked at properly.
So, diving a little bit deeper into this, what are some of the top legal, legislative, and regulatory challenges for private clubs that the NCA is addressing right now?
Oh, wow. I wish I could give you a short answer on that, but unfortunately, this is a very difficult time for private clubs. Some of the top ones that we're consistently fighting for on a day-to-day basis, overtime exemption rule, where there would be major changes to who is considered an exempt or non-exempt employee, and then whether that person would need to be paid overtime or not. And this could be very detrimental detrimental to clubs because most clubs have employees that are very, very seasonal. Obviously, a club, up north, they're pro or assistant pro, in the golf or tennis side, is going to work a whole lot more during the summer than they are during the winter. And so that would, but average out, throughout the year. But now if this legislation or these regulations were to come forward, you're looking at having to, either pay these people overtime for the time that they're working during that the summertime and the busy time, or not giving them enough hours so that their pay, stays the same, or, figuring out, so, okay, well, their pay is still going to stay the same. They're just going to make a whole lot more in the summer and then nothing in the winter. So their paychecks should come, fluctuate very widely. So it's just these types of things where, it might sound good on paper by some people in the current administration that says, oh, we just need to, basically raise this rate so people who work really hard, they should get overtime pay. But in the real world, it doesn't really seem that it's accomplishing what they think that it's going to do. And so that is just one that we're following very, very closely, that we're fighting on. We're working with other coalitions here in Washington, D.C. to have an even stronger voice to show that this is something that could be detrimental not only to our industry, but to lots of others. Other things that we're fighting on is independent contractor status. There's been a lot of changes to that of how, okay, who is or is not considered an independent contractor. And there's, a test that is changed that would identify, whether somebody is or not. And so, we're looking at that, and a lot of our clubs have, the golf pro or the tennis pro or the fitness instructor or the caddy. So these are all independent contractors currently. And so that their status might change, on that. On the environmental front, the waters of the U.S., which is a huge a regulation coming down from EPA that says, that changes, what is the definition of protected body of water. And it could completely change, how a golf course operates and what they need to do and report, and where they could or could not use pesticides because, that those types of things can't be or can't flow into a protected body. And I could go on in terms of, Affordable Care Act, of how, that is still hurting clubs and the compliance costs associated with that, union organizing rules, how that's, the administration's making it a lot easier for unions to organize, and even H-2B visa programs, how we're trying to get people to come and work in those seasonal clubs and be able to do that, without as many restrictions, so we can help, these clubs fulfill their labor requirements. Unfortunately, those just sort of a tip of the iceberg of what we're following. But you see that it's more, a lot of things that are on the human resource front, that are on the labor front, and on the environmental. And these are things that are affecting all, small businesses. These are not things that are just specific to clubs, but it is something that clubs are very much affected by. And so we're up here, every day fighting for these things. And I'll step back just a little bit where I say, when people hear, when I tell them, we do lobbying for private clubs, that's their first thing is, well, what really do private clubs have to lobby for? I mean, is it, a privacy thing, or just they're private, want to remain private? And we say, no, not at all. It's the small business things that affect all small businesses, and that's what we're lobbying for. I think that opens up people's eyes to say that, okay, wow, these really are, these corporations or small businesses that, need to make sure that they have that environment that is, the most opportunistic for them to operate in.
Are there other lobby groups that you align yourself with as an association that you tend to see that you're working on the same issues or fighting for the same types of things?
Absolutely. Other associations here in Washington, D.C., we think are on about 8 or 9 different coalitions. And depending on the issue, it can be, just a huge difference at those tables. With something like the Waters of the U.S., we're very much involved with the Golf Course Superintendents Association on that. But then there's also an organization, National Association of Manufacturers, where I used to work. They're involved in that coalition as well, because these manufacturers, have some water issues, if they want to expand their plants or some other things. So there's groups like that. On a lot of these overtime issues, groups like the National Restaurant Association, other hospitality groups, the lodging groups. So there are a lot of other associations here in Washington, D.C. that they're doing the same thing. They're fighting for their constituents, their members. And so we will join with them to create an even bigger voice, as we're saying, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to hurt, not only just one industry, but an entire, swath of organizations or companies that are out there. And that's one of the biggest things that we do is to work with these coalitions, because we know, and just right now, we're not big enough to be a strong enough player in Washington, D.C. to make that difference. But when we team up with somebody like the National Association of Manufacturers or the U.S. Chamber of Commerce on some of these things, that enables us to really have some heft in our arguments, and as we're fighting for these things.
I feel like it's really easy to get into that bubble mindset. So I'm glad we're talking about this, because a lot of times I think clubs maybe feel like they're on an island, but you guys are really doing the big picture stuff for them. So it's really, really interesting. How big is your membership, Henry?
We represent about 600 private clubs across the country. It is something where we can grow. I want us to grow. That's one of my charges as the new president and CEO here at the association. I don't do it for a couple of reasons. One, because I want to build our community of clubs that belong to the National Club Association. But two, the more that we can have in our army, the better that we are as an association when we're fighting. We go up to Capitol Hill and we can say, right now we say we're representing 600 clubs. I want to say we represent 1,000 clubs or maybe 1,500 clubs when we grow our membership to that. And that's going to carry a lot more weight. And then also when we walk into a senator's office or a congressman's office and say, we represent all of these clubs that are in your district or in your state, they're going to know that. So that's one of the things that we need to do to make our association stronger and enable us to do some other things, but enable us to be stronger, a stronger voice for the industry is, the more that we have. And then also the more that we get in our membership, those are more stories that we can tell. We can reach out to our members and say, hey, tell us about, how the Affordable Care Act might be affecting, the number of people you are hiring or the hours that you're giving them. And then we can tell that story on the Capitol Hill, or tell us about how, if these overtime regulations, go through, what's that going to mean to, 7 or 8 employees at your club. And then we can try to get our members to come up and testify in front of Congress, because that's who Congress wants testifying, is the people who have these small businesses. It's affecting people, back in their districts and their territories. They don't want to hear from the huge corporations. They want to hear from, that one or 2 private clubs that they have in their district that, employ a lot of people, and it's a big community gathering spot. And, this is how it could affect them. And so the more those stories, the more those members that we have, the more things that we can share, the better we are as an industry to try to make things right for us.
Perfect. Now, how can club managers and boards on clubs, how can they actually get involved in some of this? If they have a problem or they have an issue, how do they get in touch with your association to sort of tell them what's going on?
Absolutely. That's many different ways. Obviously, the best that we love is when people pick up the phone and give us a call. I'm very much a phone person, and so I've ingrained that in my staff here, and have the team. Let's make phone calls. Let's reach out. Let's touch people. You can do better things that way. So we'd love for people to reach out and call us, especially members, and they know that Brad Steele, who had mentioned, who's our general counsel and vice president of government relations, here on staff, he all day long is, talking to members, letting them know, hey, this is what's happening. This is how it can affect you. Here's potential ways that, you might be able to, solve the problems that you have, or here's things that you need to look at or have your, club's council look at to see if that's something that you want to do. So picking up the phone, giving us a call is the best way. Obviously, we've got opportunities through our website, nationalclub.org, for people to reach us to see what are the issues that we're fighting on, and how it might affect them and what can be done. But and that's why I love associations. I love working with members, year in and year out, building those relationships, and I encourage our members and even our non-members to reach out to us and let us know what's going on, let us know what's happening, tell us those stories. We can help you, but then also we can relay those to the people who could potentially make some changes in the laws or regulations.
You mentioned that one of your goals was to increase membership. What are some of the other goals you have for the organization?
I want to build our presence. I think a lot of people, even in our industry, may not know who and what the National Club Association does. I definitely think that people outside of our industry don't know who we are. So that is the number 2 goal, is we need to build our presence. I want people to know who we are, what we do, what we're fighting for, who our members are, what they represent, and the good that they provide their employees, their local community, and the members. Looking at doing that in some different ways in terms of really getting out there and being a voice, for the industry. Whether it's through, industry media, whether it's through Washington, D.C. media, the Capitol Hill media, or national media. So we're really trying to put a bigger push on letting people know in their respective areas, who we are and what we do and why that they should know about us and the benefit that we can bring.
What are some of the ways you're getting your message out there?
One of the things that we have is our political action committee called Club PAC. And this is a tool that allows us to support the candidates that support the private club industry. So that is one way that we are really making a positive and direct impact on Capitol Hill.
Your organization also has another nonprofit arm. Can you tell us about the NCA Foundation?
Yeah, absolutely. Our National Club Association Foundation has done very, very well in terms of raising money and supporting educational and research opportunities. It's about a $600,000 foundation. It is overseen by a board of directors, with the chair of that being Jeff McFadden from the Union League in Philadelphia. And there was a very big emphasis and push to really grow that foundation, and that's happened. So now we're in a very positive point where we can say, okay, well, what can we do now with this money that has been so generously donated by individuals, by clubs, by other associations, and by corporations, because they see the need for the work that comes out of that foundation that supports our Club Trends publications, it supports our Board Leadership Institute, a lot of the information, this governance information that we are sending out to our members about how they can, work with their boards and how their boards can work to more efficiently operate and manage their clubs.
I know you mentioned trends, and I know your organization is really heavy into trends. You even have that quarterly magazine you mentioned dedicated to the subject. What do you see as some of the top trends affecting the private club industry?
It's a great question. Absolutely. And I get this all the time. And I think when I tell people, especially outside of the industry, what they are, they're sort of shocked. They take a step back because when people think right away of golf and country clubs, they think golf. And that's, what it is. But we're seeing right now that, golf is potentially maybe the number 4, number 5 most important thing at a club. And so what we're really seeing in the trends is it's the food and beverage. What is a club doing to be able to really put forth great food and beverage, opportunities and experiences. And it's not just for the older couple or the mom and dad. I mean, it's for the entire family. We're seeing a lot of clubs that are going towards that more casual type of dining. Some that are even putting in types of either Starbucks type facilities in their clubs, not bringing in Starbucks, but having that coffee bar where
Right.
they have the bring in your laptop and you can sit there and hang out there for a while. Yep. Or the fast casual like a Chipotle, where it's it's not to sit down, but you can go and get something to eat and those types of things. So the food and beverage is really, really interesting when you're looking at it. What's happening with trends. And again, when I was talking to the head of the National Restaurant Association, and she was, we were talking about food and beverage operations, and she commented of how clubs probably have an even better idea about what people want than restaurants do, because the club members won't hesitate.
They're pretty vocal about it, yeah.
Exactly. They won't hesitate. So she was in awe of the fact that, that must be so nice. You've got that immediate feedback, because, members of financial stake in their club, and so they're letting you know what's happening. But that's also not to say that, clubs aren't seeing what is happening out there, in restaurants, and taking some of those ideas and incorporating those back into their club, because they know that their members are seeing that, on the outside. But it was just an interesting way that the head of the Restaurant Association is saying, wow, clubs have an opportunity, almost an advantage, because they can get that immediate feedback from their members. And other trends that we're seeing is, we're geared towards families. It's I don't know if you remember that old Oldsmobile commercial. It's not your father's Oldsmobile. It's not your father's country club anymore. Very rarely, do I see even my friends, my contemporaries, heading off to the club for 4 and 5 hours on a Saturday and Sunday just to play golf. When we've got children. Myself, I've got an 8 and a 10-year-old. So our weekends are usually filled with a lot of their activities or doing, other things. And so it's the family activities that you have at a club. So the whole family can come and be at that club and, do programs or things, such as tennis that don't take as long. We're seeing, the growth in tennis at clubs, and sort of a slowdown in the golf. It's sort of stayed about the same, but definitely, tennis is growing, and then offshoots of tennis, like a paddleball or a pickleball that enable other people to play types of sports that don't take as long as golf to play, but can be great opportunities for exercise as well. And then you look at the fitness and the wellness. A lot of emphasis and is being put on the workout facilities and the gyms, but then also the sort of like a spa type of environment at a club, where that's what people are looking for. And we're seeing a lot of clubs that are doing a lot of renovations, very high dollar renovations, on this health and wellness area, because that's what they are hearing from their members that they want. So we're seeing a lot of that type of thing of turning the club into something that is more conducive to what modern families want in terms of the recreation, the food and beverage, the health and wellness, and then also goes as far as the dress. You're looking at a much more casual atmosphere in clubs than we used to see. I think it's about 80% of clubs now allow some type of or denim in at least some part of their club, which you never would have seen that when I started in this industry, 15 years or so ago. So times are changing at clubs, and they have to be able to be successful. I think that's a rule along any business.
Sure.
You need to change with what your constituents or your members, what they want, and that's what we've seen. Clubs that have been willing and have been able to change and modify and be more attractive to their members and to future members, they've been able to succeed. The ones that have not have been the ones that have been very slow to make the necessary changes.
I spoke to a lot of people on this radio program, and that's a theme that keeps recurring is flexibility and being open to change, for sure.
Absolutely.
Tell us about the National Club Conference you have in Chicago this year.
Yeah, very excited about this. This will be my first National Club Conference. This is our annual event where we get to bring all of our members and or even prospects, non-members, and suppliers together for 1.5 days worth of good, intense educational opportunities, but then also really fun networking opportunities. We're going to be in Chicago, May 19th through the 21st.
Great city.
Absolutely, and we've got a great support there of clubs in the area. We're going to be doing an opening night reception at the Chicago Yacht Club. Our base club is going to be the Union League in Chicago. We're going to be doing lunch at the Chicago Club downtown, and we're going to have a dinner at the Standard Club. So very fortunate to have good group, a core right there that we're going to be able to take advantage of all these clubs and have people be able to see, what's happening and some of the trends that other clubs are doing. But then we're going to have some great educational opportunities. We're going to do a half day on legislative issues with Brad Steele, and we're going to bring in a congressman to speak, and then another day worth of governance issues, as well as some communications and some other things, leadership and trends that are happening. So it's a great opportunity for, usually we have about 150, 175 attendees, but for them to be able to interact with each other in a smaller type atmosphere that lends itself more to the really building those relationships with fellow club managers from across the country, but then really understanding, what's going on, especially on the legislative and regulatory front that can affect them and how they go about their day-to-day operations.
So this is a good way to stay up on trends and some of the legislative issues that might affect them. They don't even know they're happening, right?
Right, absolutely, and that's one of the things that we get. We sort of cringe when we hear somebody say, "Oh, I had no idea that was happening," or that I was going to have to comply with that law. Starting April 1st, like clubs out in California, they need to start recycling their food waste. Those types of things, and so we cringe when we hear that, but then we also say, okay, well, good. This gives us an opportunity to be able to educate and show them, okay, here's what you need to do, and here's how you comply, and those types of things. So it is good for us to hear that from our members, because then also that shows us where we need to make sure that we're really, doubling down on our efforts to get the message out about what they need to do and how they need to go about it.
You're doing important work. I want to bring it a little bit more personal now. So when you're actually not working, Henry, what is it that you're doing?
That's a great question. My wife would tell you that I'm never not working.
I think you're. A lot of us are the same way. We always have a cell phone or something in our hands, right?
Exactly. But I think that's one of the things why I'm so excited about this position that I'm in is I can truly say that I love my job. I love working in associations. I love the private club industry. I get to work with a great group of people, especially my board of directors, who's been very supportive of me in this first 4 months that I've been here. So I'm always working, but not in a bad way. But if I'm driving down the road and I see something, I'm like, ooh, how can I steal that idea? Or could we do this? Or here's what we can do here. Something like that. So I say I'm always working in that sense. But like I mentioned, I've got 2 young kids. I've got a 10-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. And so when I'm not coaching his baseball or her basketball, I'm usually going to some of their other events. And then in the process of now trying to do some handyman remodeling work around the house, which again, I think my wife wishes I wouldn't do that either. So,
I know my wife wishes I don't.
Exactly, but it gives you that sense of accomplishment if you can at least try to do something there. So that's what I'm doing, and involved in some other things. But mostly it's family time when I'm not doing this. And thankfully with this position, I do get to travel, and I get to travel and see some great places, and so I get the opportunity to take the family to that as well. So spend a lot of time with them and get to educate them on different parts of the country, but also show them and see a lot of different things. So that's the main part of what I'm not doing or what I'm doing when I'm not working.
Very nice, very nice. All right, so we've come to the bucket list question. The question I ask all my guests: if there's one club they have to see before they die, what is that club? That's an interesting question, because as a association that has 600 clubs in our membership, I don't want to pick one over the other. It's like asking, who's your favorite child? Right.
I don't want to do that for fear of upsetting.
Sure.
I will say I've had the opportunity to see some, amazing clubs in terms of beauty and layouts and function and what they do. But I guess if you're forcing me to answer this question, I have not yet been to Augusta National. Okay. They are a member of ours, so I actually have that on my list to hopefully someday to go down and say hi and introduce myself. But I would think that right now that would be the one, obviously just because of being a fan of golf and watching the Masters on TV and just seeing it and hearing stories from other people who've attended of how beautiful it is. I would like to be able to do that. But I'm excited the fact that I get to go to a lot of amazing clubs, and it's definitely a wonderful perk of my job that I get to see these amazing places all across the country.
You have to take me with you, Henry.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I'm going to hold you to it. We have it. This is recorded, so I'm going to hold you to it. That Henry Wallmeyer on what's today's date? We're recording this
February
on
9th.
February 9th. You've agreed that you're going to take me to Augusta when you play, so I'm going to hold you to it. All right, cool. So, how do folks find out more about the National Club Association and register for your conference?
Easiest way is to go to our website, nationalclub.org. Information about the conference is there, where they can register for the conference. It lists the whole schedule, all of the speakers, breakdown of the education sessions. Also talks about the opportunities and the social events, including the golf tournament that we're hosting. I also welcome anybody to give us a call. We love to answer the phone and talk to people. Our phone number is 202-822-9822, or they can also shoot us an email, shoot me one directly. I respond to all emails, and that's WALLMEYER @nationalclub.org. And love to hear from anybody, whether you're looking for information about membership or joining, or if you've got ideas, suggestions that we need things that we could do to help the industry. Love to hear from anybody and everybody.
Henry, thanks so much for being on Private Club Radio. It was really a pleasure to have you today.
Well, thank you so much, Gabe. I do appreciate it. I thank you for what you're doing for the industry, because I'm here, doing the same thing as we're fighting for the industry, and anything that we can do to make it better and make more people aware of what we're doing and for us to be a stronger voice, I do appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Henry.
Have a great day, Gabe.
You too.
Bye-bye.
I really enjoyed that one, and I hope you did too. Definitely check out their website, nationalclub.org. There's some incredible information on there. And Club Trends, their quarterly newsletter, is just really a cool publication that you need to look at. Everything's there, nationalclub.org. We have some awesome guests coming up for you in the coming weeks. On March 7th, we're going to be speaking with Kevin Caldabaugh. Kevin is the president of the Club Spa and Fitness Association. On March 14th, another exciting guest, Jackie Carpenter, editor of Private Club Advisor, and the man himself, Greg Patterson, former GM of the Beach Club and contributor to Boardroom Magazine, is going to be with us on March 21st. Greg is just the most dynamic person that I've ever met in this industry. You are going to love that. Until next week, guys, here's to your membership success.
Just because this round is over doesn't mean you can't enjoy the 19th hole. Check out privateclubradio.com for more. Private Club Radio is brought to you by Shake Creative, the premier marketing and design firm, helping prestigious clubs increase and retain their membership. Visit shaketampa.com to learn more.